You may not notice it yet, but there are 7 red flags quietly killing your energy every single day. Unless you recognize them, they will keep draining you, leaving you wondering why you always feel tired, restless, or unmotivated. In this video, we are going to walk through those red flags one by one so you can protect your energy and finally feel like yourself again. Think about this. The World Health Organization reports that nearly 1 in 3 adults worldwide struggles with fatigue, not because of an illness, but because of daily leaks in energy. I once worked with a colleague who was brilliant, but constantly exhausted. At first, I thought it was just her workload. Later, I realized the real issue was these exact red flags stealing her energy in silence. And the truth is, we have all been in that place. By the end of this video, you will know the 7 biggest invisible drains on your energy and the practical ways to stop them. I will share stats, real life stories, and lessons from books like James Clear's Atomic Habits and Dr. Kelly McGonigal's The Willpower Instinct. This is not just about spotting the signs, it is about flipping the switch back on. Most people believe energy comes only from sleep, food, or caffeine, but some of the strongest drains have nothing to do with diet or bedtime. They are habits, conversations, and even thought patterns. Tiny things you barely notice that quietly eat away at you. Once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Energy spreads. When you are drained, the people around you feel it too. A Gallup poll in 2019 showed that disengaged employees cost the global economy more than $7 trillion in lost productivity. That is not just about business. It shows how much energy matters everywhere. Imagine how different your life could feel if you sealed the leaks in your own day. Before we get started, pause for a moment and ask yourself where your energy actually goes. Is it the late night scrolling that eats up your sleep? The person who drains you every time they call? Or the way you keep saying yes to things you never had time for in the first place? Keep that thought, because once we uncover these 7 red flags, you will start noticing them everywhere in your routines, in your relationships, even in the way you talk to yourself. Let's dive in. The first red flag is one you will probably recognize right away, but chances are you have been ignoring it for far too long. Once you see it clearly, you will understand why it has been quietly draining your energy. The first red flag quietly killing your energy is living with constant, unfinished business. Think about the emails you have not replied to, the laundry piled in the corner, the project you started but never finished. Each one is small on its own, but together they create a background hum of stress that follows you everywhere. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency for incomplete tasks to stick in your mind far more than completed ones. A simple to do that you push off can loop endlessly in the background, quietly draining mental energy. Studies from the American Psychological Association show that clutter and unfinished tasks raise cortisol levels, which leads to fatigue and poor focus. I remember meeting a friend who always seemed tired, even though she slept well. She told me she would lie in bed at night and mentally replay all the things she had not done that day. That unfinished checklist sat on her chest like a weight. Once she started closing small loops, like setting aside 10 minutes to tidy up, writing quick 2-line responses, or creating a simple nightly shutdown routine, her energy began to lift. Unfinished business drains more energy than hard work. When you tie up loose ends, even the small ones, you free up mental space. Start with something tiny today. Delete the apps you no longer use, clear the counter, answer that one email. Every task you close is a leak you seal. And if you think this is just about chores, wait until you see the next red flag, because it goes much deeper and hits even closer to home. The second red flag quietly killing your energy is spending too much time around people who drain you. We all know that one person who can take the air out of the room in seconds. Maybe it is a colleague who complains endlessly, or a friend who always turns the conversation back to their own problems. Over time, this constant emotional weight leaves you more exhausted than a 10-hour workday. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that spending just a few minutes with a negative person can increase your stress levels and even lower problem solving abilities. This happens because emotions are contagious. When you are around constant negativity, your nervous system mirrors that state. It is like secondhand smoke, but for your energy. I once had a neighbor who loved to chat at the end of the day. At first, I thought it was harmless small talk, but every conversation turned into a list of everything wrong in the world: politics, weather, money, even the neighbors. I would walk away feeling drained, as if my evening had been stolen. Eventually, I had to set small boundaries, limiting the time, steering the topic, or sometimes simply excusing myself. Protect your circle. You do not have to cut people off completely, but you do need to notice how your body feels after being around them. If you feel heavy, tense, or irritated, that is a red flag. Choose more uplifting spaces and voices whenever you can, because if draining people can quietly steal your energy, the next red flag might shock you even more, since it is something you are doing to yourself without even realizing it. The third red flag, quietly killing your energy, is constant self criticism. You may not realize how much energy it takes to keep tearing yourself down. Every time you replay a mistake, every time you compare yourself to someone else and decide you are not enough, you are draining energy that could have been used for focus, creativity, or rest. Studies from Stanford University show that self critical thoughts activate the same stress pathways in the brain as physical threats. That means your body reacts to your own harsh words the same way it would if someone else was yelling at you. Over time, this internal battle chips away at your motivation and leaves you constantly tired. I once met someone at a workshop who admitted she never felt proud of her achievements. Even when she completed a big project, she would immediately focus on what she could have done better. She laughed when she said it, but you could see how exhausted she was. Her energy was not going to her work, it was being consumed by her inner critic. The wisdom here is to notice the voice in your head and treat it more like a coach than a critic. You would never tell your best friend they are worthless for making a small mistake, so why say it to yourself? Begin with tiny shifts. Replace "what did I do wrong" with "what did I learn?" Instead of "why am I always failing?" ask "what is one small step I can try next?" Small language changes protect your energy. And as much as self criticism drains you, the next red flag shows how overcommitting your time can be just as costly. The fourth red flag quietly killing your energy is overcommitting your time. Saying yes to everything feels harmless in the moment, but every extra promise becomes another weight you carry. You might think you are being helpful or ambitious, but in reality, you are spreading yourself so thin that nothing gets your full focus and your energy disappears fast. Research from the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology shows that people who overcommit report significantly higher stress levels and lower recovery time. It is not just about being busy, it is about losing the margin you need to recharge. Even fun commitments can start to feel like chores when you are stretched beyond your limits. A friend once told me he said yes to every social invite after moving to a new city. At first, it seemed exciting, but soon he was out almost every night, drained at work during the day and struggling to keep up with basic routines. He admitted that what looked like an active social life was actually leaving him burned out. Only when he learned to pause before saying yes did his energy begin to recover. Treat your energy like currency. Every yes is a withdrawal. Ask yourself if the task, project, or outing is worth the cost. Create space for margin so you are not constantly living on empty. When you start saying no with intention, your yes becomes more powerful. And if you think time commitments are a drain, Wait until you see the next red flag, because this one strikes even when you are sitting still and not doing anything at all. The fifth red flag, quietly killing your energy, is passive consumption. It is the endless scrolling, the background TV, the hours spent clicking from one thing to the next without purpose. You may think you are resting, but your brain is still working overtime, processing thousands of images and ideas that never stop. A study from Nelson found that adults spend more than 10 hours a day consuming media. The constant input does not allow the brain to rest. Instead of genuine rest, you end up overstimulated and fatigued. It explains why spending 2 hours scrolling can leave you more tired than a walk outside or a short nap. I once fell into this trap myself. After a long day, I would open social media thinking I would relax for a few minutes. An hour later, I was still scrolling, my eyes heavy, but my mind buzzing. I realized I was confusing distraction with recovery. What I needed was a real break, not another feed of endless highlights and arguments. Choose active recovery instead of passive distraction. Read a book, take a walk, stretch, or even sit in silence for 5 minutes. These activities recharge your energy instead of draining it. Pay attention to how you feel afterward. Real rest leaves you lighter. Passive scrolling leaves you foggy. And as sneaky as passive consumption is, the next red flag can drain you even faster because it comes disguised as ambition and productivity. The sixth red flag quietly killing your energy is chasing constant productivity. It feels good to stay busy, to tick boxes, to keep pushing. But when your entire life becomes a checklist, your body and mind never get the signal to recover. You start running on fumes, convincing yourself that you are achieving more, when in reality, you are wearing yourself down. Research from the University of California shows that people who multitask frequently actually perform worse on memory and focus tests. Productivity addiction is not efficient, it is exhaustion disguised as progress. The brain needs recovery cycles, just like muscles after a workout. Without that downtime, you burn out even while telling yourself you are getting ahead. I once coached someone who was proud of working 12-hour days. He believed that grinding was proof of discipline. But over time, his health declined, his relationships weakened, and his creativity vanished. He realized the extra hours did not create extra value. What he thought was dedication was actually energy debt. It took enforced breaks and learning to unplug for him to feel alive again. The wisdom here is to separate being effective from being endlessly busy. Focus on the few actions that move the needle, then allow yourself to rest without guilt. Energy is not just burned by doing too little, it is also drained by doing too much. And if you think overworking is damaging, wait until you face the seventh red flag, because this one cuts directly into your sleep and leaves you running on empty without realizing it. The seventh red flag quietly killing your energy is poor sleep hygiene. It is not just about how many hours you sleep, but the quality of those hours. Scrolling in bed, irregular sleep times, or even using your phone as an alarm can all chip away at your rest. Over time, you are not recharging fully, and you start each day already behind. The Centers for Disease Control has called insufficient sleep a public health epidemic. Studies show that even losing just 1 or 2 hours of sleep for several nights in a row impairs attention, memory, and mood as much as a full night without sleep. Your body treats that lack of rest like a constant stress signal, keeping your energy reserves low. I once spoke with someone who proudly said they could function on 4 hours of sleep. They wore it like a badge of honor, but when we talked more, they admitted they were always irritable, needed coffee to get through the morning, and often forgot simple details. Their body was keeping score. It was only when they committed to regular bedtimes and unplugging before bed that their energy truly returned. Sleep is not wasted time. It is the foundation of every bit of energy you have. Protect it like you protect your money. Create a wind down ritual. Keep screens away from the pillow and aim for consistency over perfection. Small adjustments will restore more energy than another cup of coffee ever could. We have walked through 7 red flags that quietly kill your energy. Let's bring them all together so you can see the full picture. Number 1 was unfinished business. Number 2 was draining people. Number 3 was constant self criticism. Number 4 was overcommitting your time. Number 5 was passive consumption. Number 6 was chasing constant productivity. And number 7 was poor sleep hygiene. When you step back, the pattern becomes obvious. Energy is not only about food and sleep, it is about the way you manage your environment, your thoughts, your commitments, and your recovery. Every red flag is like a tiny leak. On its own, it might not sink you, but together, they create the exhaustion that so many people carry without knowing why. The good news is, you do not need to fix everything at once. Start with one flag, seal one leak. Maybe tonight you finish that small task before bed, or you silence your phone an hour earlier, or you say no to something that does not fit your priorities. Small wins compound. Energy returns little by little until you realize you feel lighter, clearer, and more focused. And because you have stuck around this far, I'm going to ask you for one tiny favor that also boosts my energy. Tap subscribe. Yes, I said it. Think of it like a friendly energy exchange. You get more practical wisdom each week, and I get the joy of knowing this little stickman community is growing. Remember this: energy is the foundation of everything you do. Without it, even the best intentions collapse. With it, ordinary routines feel manageable and big goals feel possible. Pay attention to what leaks your energy, because awareness alone starts to shift your habits. So, as you go through this week, watch for those 7 red flags. When you catch one, treat it as a signal, not a failure. Seal one leak, then another. Your energy is too valuable to waste. Protect it, invest in it, and enjoy the return it gives you.